Hello humans, Masters of Interflex here, bringing you the low quality content you deserve, and today I'm going to be showing you 3 engines you probably didn't know existed. And I'm using this title and this slogan because I know for a fact it panders to the YouTube algorithm, which means it's pretty pog champ. And besides, I don't need to insult your intelligence, that's what my intro does, so that's fine. Now, I think one of these, I believe, is only a matter of time. It's coming in the next set for us, not particularly this set, but all 3 of these engines you will have access to, 2 of them right now and the one in the very near future. But I wanted to get them across because even if they're not particularly effective at everything they do, they're very interesting, they could fill roles in the future, and more importantly, it can give your brain some ideas to work with, whatever deck ideas you have. So let's get into this. This first engine is for Silent Magician. And I know for a fact, you have always wanted to put this card in a deck, but the truth is, it's actually very easy to access through Witch of the Black Forest, and here's why. If you normal summon Witch of the Black Forest and link it away into Artemis, this Link 1 is genuinely one of the most impressive Link 1s ever existed. Not to any other thing besides the fact that it is a Link 1 spellcaster that takes spellcasters. And that is very meaningful because of the fact of how many floating spellcasters there are. This card can turn Recruiter into Necro Valley, and it can turn Witch of the Black Forest into a spell negate. And here's why. So, when you read Silent Magician, you might be thinking, so how will you summon this? Well, its summoning condition is not an effect. So the Witch of the Black Forest effect to lock the effects of whatever you summon doesn't matter to summoning Silent Magician. It only matters that you can't negate with a spell during this turn, which is your turn, when your opponent activates spells on their turn. So it just doesn't matter. So, this is what we can do. By just normal summoning Silent Magician, congratulations, we have a spell negate. And if you're playing some kind of back row every deck, that's pretty helpful. But now let's apply this to a deck that can actually use it. And this, I guess, will have us go back and leave Artemis on the field. And here's a deck we can put it in. We're gonna, after we link away the Witch of the Black Forest, we can go ahead and activate Nadir Servant, dump Garuru, get a free draw after we search our Ecclesia. And, because we control an extra deck monster, we can special summon that Ecclesia. The Ecclesia can get a search, but what I want to show off right here is that we don't actually need Nadir's Servant for this demonstration. It can actually be hard Ecclesia, but it can also, I believe, hard be Maximus. But for this, let's go back and pretend we didn't even have Nadir's Servant, so this draw never happened. Now, once we summon Ecclesia, we're going to search Maximus, and then after searching Maximus, we will go ahead and summon the Silent Magician, putting that extra deck monster in our graveyard, which we can then banish it to special summon Maximus, and then Maximus can dump all the fun stuff like Shadal, Apocalyphort, and Ash Dragon, the Bastard. And then during our end phase, we can get a bunch of free stuff. So we'll have a Spell Negate, a Winda Summon to floodgate our opponent. The Ash Bastard will allow us to get Iris. So basically, we have a Floodgate, a Spell Negate, and a Monster Negate. And that is pretty efficient. And if we use Nadir's Servant to get there, we also got a free draw. So we'll have 4 random cards in our hand. Now this engine is very cool. And I know for a fact some of you will be using this as an excuse to play Silent Magician in the deck. And also, I have convinced Jonathan Moore, 2008 YCS champion, to put this in his deck list a lot. So I guess there's some merit to it. So yeah. Alright, next engine. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys have all heard of the Bestials like Pizza Hut and Lubellion. Now, Here's the thing. This is very obviously an engine. Like, I didn't need to tell you that or make a video about it. But what I want to demonstrate is not its potential as an engine, but its potential as a deck if it gets that far in the future, because, to be fair, this engine is a little past broken. The only reason people aren't freaking out about it yet is because we're in a Tier 0 format. But once that Tier 0 fades, you will see how much of a problem this card in specifically is. But that's not what I want to talk about. The Bestials have a lot going for them. Not only are they dragon special summons that DD Crow the graveyard, and they're dragons, but they're also dragons. So because of that, I was thinking, oh, you can put them in Dragon Link, but everyone's also figured that out. So what have you not ever considered when looking at this engine? Well, I can tell you, you've never thought of Dark Hex Sealed Fusion. Now, this ball of flesh is interesting, to say the least. One of the things about Bestials is that while they're a really good engine, they lack anything proactive to do on their turn. And it's probably one of the reasons why they're just not really ever going to be their own deck. But hear me out. What happens if, in a deck where you do not need your normal summon at all, you decide to normal summon the Dark Hex Sealed Fusion in a deck full of dragons? What could that possibly make by attributing itself, which can substitute as any fusion material, and a dragon effect monster? I'm so curious. Oh yeah, it's this one. Now, here's an interesting take I will give you. Red Eye's Dark Dragoon is a really good monster, but it has some pitfalls that one of the biggest pitfalls people do not consider, it's the fact that once your opponent outs it, which, no matter how powerful Dragoon is, it's going to get outed eventually. But more the fact that once they out it, they have the ability to use it against you. But that's only the case when you fusion summon it. The Dark Hex does not fusion summon it. It special summons it from the extra deck, meaning Dark the Dark Charmer, the extra deck monster that has done the most damage to Dragoon, is invalid against this one. So, by just a very simple normal summon and sacrificing one of your Bestial Pizza Huts, you have successfully established a Dragoon, which is a pain for your opponent to deal with, but more importantly, even when they do deal with it, they don't get it back. So, that's actually a lot, but it almost goes a little further than that. Because let's say you are thinking about using this as an engine to this as an engine, which is questionable but possible. Let's say you special summon Pizza Hut on your opponent's turn, and during the end phase you get a Dragon Search. What if you search Diablos, and then going into your opponent's turn, you normal summon this, tribute both the Pizza Hut and the Dark Hex, summon Dragoon, and then summon Diablos. That is a lot of damage very quick, and you have not even used any other meaningful Bestial effects yet. Pretty nice. But then finally, we have one other application for this Pizza Hut guy. The Dark Hex specifically, my bad. And it's, what were to happen if you were to put this in a deck that had dragons that also played Bestials? And here's an interesting one you may have forgot. Draco Slayers. So Draco Slayers can not only play the Bestials and establish dragons and summon, they can also Pendulum Summon. If you didn't know, yeah, they're Pendulum monsters. But why does that matter? Why would being able to Pendulum Summon matter if you wanted to search the Dark Hex Sealed Fusion? Oh, that's right, Galliant Granite. If only the Draco Slayers weren't all literally level 4. So, if we get into a format where Dragoon is good, which I would argue this format, Dragoon is a pain for tier to deal with, just because of all its immunities. Once it negates once, incredibly difficult for them to out. But you can just activate Granite, Search the Dark, and then Pendulum Summon, and then you play the Triff theme music. And then guess what? You have access to Dragoon. And then you can also just play Draco Slayers if you want to. Yeah, that's basically it for this engine. I think it's very interesting because the Dark Hex Sealed Fusion, because of its rock status, because Gallant Granite exists, actually helps this card a lot. Because dragons are just really good for no reason, it makes this card really easy access to Dragoon, and it does it in a way that your opponent can't punish you for it. And I think that's really interesting, and I wonder if that's going to see some applications in the future, but we got one final engine to go over. Now for this final engine, we're going to go into the engine I said will probably come to us in the future, which it will, because it's in the next set. And that engine is alone Big Welcome Labyrinth for any one of at least 2 monsters. And let me show you what these 2 monsters can be. Theoretically, if you just want a trap tutor for any trap deck you want to play, you would just play 1, maybe 2 copies of this card. Or if you want Big Welcome to have more than one effect, you can also summon the original Lady Labyrinth. So we have Lady Labyrinth and Lovely Labyrinth. And when you summon Lady, Big Welcome has the application that you have to bounce 1 monster you control to the hand. So if we summon Lady, we'll just bounce it back to our hand. And if we want to summon Lovely, what we're going to do is we're going to wait until we have one of our own monsters on board, and then we will bounce that. Because when we do, it allows Lovely to trigger to pop any card they control or rip a card out of their hand, which is very nice. But if we do Lady, we can just summon it immediately from our hand. And that allows it to be the trap tutor. So basically, by playing a 3-0 trap that has a graveyard effect on the following turn, by the way, you get to basically apply a lot of pressure and a lot of recovery in a trap deck, many of which are not normally made to have. But let's show this off in a demonstration. And for this demonstration, we will choose Unchained, which is a really cool deck. But here's an application. Let's say we want to use Big Welcome. We're going to go ahead and use it right now, and we are going to summon out Lady. Lady will get bounced by the Big Welcome. And Lady will get bounced by the Big Welcome, but we can just summon it, so it's right here. Then, when we activate another trap, we can chain the effect of Lady Labyrinth to set a new trap. And because we have Rakea on board, we will set Escape of the Unchained. So that trap prior will resolve, and then Rakea can go ahead and pop Escape of the Unchained, which all the Unchained traps have the ability of, when they're destroyed, special summon an Unchained monster from the deck, and that one can be Abominable Unchained Soul. Now this is where this is kind of interesting, because one of the only weaknesses of the card setting traps is they can't be activated that turn, but if you're popping them with Rakea, they get to be a trap on that turn. So it's actually a really cool application. And let's not forget, Unchained has a lot of synergy with a lot of lab cards in general, because Big Welcome can actually bounce any card your opponent controls if you control a level 8 Fiend, which the Unchained deck actually has multiple already. So there's a lot of really cool synergies between these 2 decks. I've also been trying this engine in Lair of Darkness because it also has a lot of really cool synergies. But then finally, for Unchained specifically, it also allows really easy access to cards like Dingirsu, which is one of the only cards this deck could even have access to dealing with monsters that cannot be targeted or destroyed. It's one of their only outs to these kinds of effects, so having much easier access to it is very nice. Not to mention, you are just summoning extra free bodies for the dogs, which is really nice. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you like these videos, I can do more. There are so many engines in Yu-Gi-Oh! That could exist, but might be waiting for a time to matter. But I actually think there's a lot of really cool things. Like, the card pool only gets bigger, and there's only going to be more engines. Sometimes they're overlooked because either there's a better version of it, or there's just not an application for it yet. But we might be seeing a lot of these change. But yep, that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and remember, Master Dinnerflax will take us all.